This is a Fender Squier Strat. I don't know the year yet. It can't be that old. But this is a perfect example of a workhorse guitar that's used by somebody in the industry. And in this video, I'm going to take you through all the things that can be done to a guitar if you don't have a friendly luthier on your doorstep. Now, there's nothing major wrong with this, just a lot of minor things that need some TLC. And it's owned by a songster called William George, who plays in all the clubs and bars and places in Northern Ireland. So we'll take it apart and it'll be a classic example of how to service a guitar. And Georgia girl's there as usual, sticking her nose in, aren't you? You're always sticking your nose in, eh? Yes, I know you want to jump on my shoulder, don't you? Okay, I'm going to try to show you a little bit of a close-up on this one, because I want you to see the strings are a bit high. You can see that there, just a bit high. And I have a feeling, although I haven't checked, that it's to do with the neck. Yes, and there's an underbow there. So if I bring that up, you should be able to see the underbow, right? Oh, and the camera just died. Bloody hell. Why did you die on me like that? I was showing people, I'm trying to show people an underbow. Don't do that again. And Georgia girl's wandering around like she's wants to attack me any second. I think I did show you the underbow. I found my thickness gauges and they were sitting there looking at me like that because they're all wrapped up in one and I wasn't expecting that. So I would say that this has a 16th thou underbow. Actually it's more, it's about 21 thou. So I was measuring the wrong place. So there's 21 thou of an underbow there. And so we have to take that up, get the neck straight, and then lower the strings down to suit. Now we'll take off these old lousy strings, which I think Georgia girl is waiting for, aren't you? I just loosen them a bit, give you some more to play with. There you go, there's all your strings for you to play with. This guitar is in pretty good shape. They've lost, obviously at some stage, you can't see this, but at some stage they've lost the string tree and they put a gold screw in instead of the silver one. Not a big deal, eh? Not a big deal. When was the last time, William George, when was the last time you changed these strings? They're stuck in there. You know you're supposed to change the strings every now and then, William George. William George is a lovely guy. As they call it, the salt of the earth type of guy. He helps out people all the time. Really nice guy. And he's a good singer and he's a good player. And I might try to find a clip of him playing and singing for you.
Baby told God, hey, I'm kinda scared.
You know, it could be the normal. They put these things on. And one of the things I'm going to be doing to this too, which you might want a close-up of, is I'm going to be blocking off the trem arm so that it doesn't. That's the main thing I'm going to be doing here, except for, apart from setting it up, I'm going to block off the trem arm so it doesn't trem anymore, because it's just not needed and it throws guitars out of tune. And what songs use a trem arm nowadays, except for the likes of the odd one? And so I'm not a fan of trem arms anyway, even at the best of time. Even the very best of them I'm not a fan of. I've got one on my Gretsch, but it'll stay on the Gretsch because it looks gorgeous. So yes, as usual, what Fender, you'd expect Fender to be better than that, would put these, yeah, they're out. What I will do whenever I'm blocking off the nut is I'll move it in direct line of those holes so that people don't have to do that anymore. So the first stop in blocking off the necks is to tighten up the springs as tight as possible. But not yet, because we're going to put a little bit of a wood block in there first. So we'll just loosen them off now, because that's what's going to happen. That's going to come out anyway for the wood block to get into. And as you can see what's happened on the other side. Why is that stuck? Anyway, as you can see, oh, there's the springs coming out. Right, okay. So one of the things that pivots on is those screws being left loose. Well, those screws aren't going to be left loose whenever I finished. What I'm going to... Why is that not coming out? Hold on a second, just to get a little... Let me just see. Is that you? That's it loose now. So what was keeping you all that time? Nothing was keeping you all that time. You were just jammed in. You're a little bit dirty there. Anyway, you're going into the bin. So I'll put this back on again because I'm going to clean it in position. Oh, the trem arm's broke inside it. The trem arm is broken inside it, I just noticed. And there's no point in taking it out because it's not going to be used, but it's jammed, it's broken solid inside it. Okay. I've checked the neck. The neck is very dry. Not a lot of use on this guitar, but it's very dry. So let's try and get the neck straight, okay? Well, I couldn't find any loose ones to do that. And then I got this one, and it doesn't tell me the size on the bloody things. Why doesn't it tell me the size on it for future reference? It came out of there, and it says 2, 2.5, 3, 4.5, and 5 that should be. Okay, anyway, I'm going to use this and tighten it a bit just to get that. That was a marathon. And that has done the job perfectly, just that little twist. Thank you, Lorraine and Albert, for buying me that. Come in useful again. So now that's, let's check the leveling. Checking each fret's level. Oh, that's all rocky down there, so I'm going to level that all down there and just that one up there. You know, I didn't check the electrics. Let's check the electrics, even though it's not plugged in or there's no strings on it. Let's check the. Oh, well, I know that that's loose. I felt that earlier. Wasn't working very well. Let's just see if it's dirty. I'm going to give it a clean anyway. Let's just see what we've got in the way of here. Fine. Fine. A little bit crackly there, and also the switch is bent, which I'm just going to fix by doing that. Right, so water that WD-40 that, tighten up these screws, make a block for it at the back, and I'll come back to you when I've made that block. Alright. Well, there you are, a little block of wood in. Fortunately for me, that was just the perfect size of block of wood, and all I'm going to do now is darken it up so that it's not seen from the back of the guitar when you're putting strings in. You don't have to do that because it's hardly been seen at all, because all you're looking through is 6 holes like that there, and by the time I finished it'll be right on the holes. So all I'm doing is just chalking it up, and if you want to get your trem arm back again, you just pop out that little bit of wood. The other thing I'm going to do is tighten up, put the springs back on and tighten up the screws as much as possible so that there's a very tight pull that way and a very tight pull that way. And you forget the blood because I cut myself when I was cutting that piece of wood. Stupid. It's a brand new saw. A brand new saw! Isn't that some sort of... What is that? Some sort of brand new world? What is that? I don't know what that is. That's some sort of song from Disney, isn't it? But in this case it's a brand new saw that cut my little pinky. Didn't do it any harm. If you don't shed blood for every guitar, then you're not doing your job. What? Who said that? You're an idiot. Right, okay. One warning I would give to people who are tempted to do the tightest possible strings to stop this is that some guitars are so thin when you tighten those screws they can't come out the front of the guitar. In this instance it's not the case because the guitar is quite thick and you can tighten it down. But I have seen guitars where these screws will come through the bottom, and that could be a very messy thing to have if it's a nice shiny guitar. So that trem arm is, and that's gone down a little bit, but I don't care. It's perfectly fine by me. And I'll just darken it down another little bit. And stop bleeding again. Right, and that's it flat because I can tighten those now. I hadn't tightened them before. And that's it, not going to go anywhere, that trim arm. And so your tuning can stay a little bit better. Okay. And I'm going to put the cover on now, but I'm going to line the cover up to the holes. Alright, I'll clean this all after I've done all the rest of it. Just check the neck's tight. Wasn't quite tight. Okay, wasn't quite tight. Okay, so now we're going to clean this up. You don't want to see me cleaning it up, do you? No. Come back to you when it's clean. I'm in the middle of cleaning it, but did you know that if you're... This is a very simple thing, maybe 99% of people know this, but if you're putting your knob on and it's too loose or it's too tight, you can adjust that by putting a screwdriver in and bending it one way or the other, or closing it up with a pair of pliers. But don't do it too many times because those are made of aluminium and they could crack if you do it too many times. But that's just a little tip that many people do know, but also a few people may not know. So that's it. I'm just going to carry on cleaning. There you are, nice and clean. Looks $1,000,000 now. Doesn't it look like $1,000,000? Let's just hope it's fixed any little crackles that I've done. But WD-40 all round. One other thing about WD-40 is you've got to make sure you check your paintwork can take it. Some paintwork cannot take WD-40. And the other thing about WD-40, WD-40 will force you to clean the guitar. Because when you put a little bit of WD-40 on your brush, on your cloth, you need to take it off because it'll keep showing you that it's on the guitar. And so you need to keep using a nice dry tissue to get it off the guitar. Now, it's persistent in that way, but it's good. Also, I'm going to do the neck now. Neck, I think, is going to be ultra boring. I'm just going to level it all across the board, right up to there, and then I'm going to check it again. I'm just going to use... Is this good still? Yeah. That's all it took. Everything's fine there. Now I'm going to polish these frets with some 1000 grit sandpaper, as I usually do, and speed it up because it's boring. It's boring to you to watch. It's boring for me to do, so it's got to be boring for you to watch. I'll just show you this close up, let you see it, how nice and sparkly they become when you do that. 1000 grit sandpaper, and and it's hard to show, but they are sparkling like new. And then I'll do the fretboard afterwards. Okay, I'm going to zip through this. Okay, I'm going to zip through this. Fast forward. Now, ain't they pretty? Ain't they pretty and shiny and glossy and scratch free? And now I just have to do the fretboard, clean it up and get it done. Just the normal, a dab of fairy liquid. And I'm just getting inside the frets too. Just the edge of the frets, that'll stop anything from happening, but don't leave the water on too long. This is a very dry neck, it needs a lot of lemon oil, and so I'm not going to let the water stay on too long. Okay, so now some lemon oil, and my usual disclaimer, this lemon oil is mostly made up of mineral oil, but check your lemon oil before you do what I do with my hands. It could, because your lemon oil could have a lot of other chemicals in it. So that's your disclaimer. If you want to do it better, I'm going to put it on this wood because that doesn't look to be treated. So I'm going to put it up there too. That if it was my guitar, I'd spray that gloss, but I'm going to polish that all off later. They have a natural wood by the look of it. Right, so I'm going to let that sit, clean up. Let it sit a minute. I'll come back to you in 5 minutes. There you are. While that's drying in, I just thought I'd show you. You can do this yourself. Anybody can do this yourself. You've got a fret leveling tool. Pretty easy to work. If it rocks, you know your frets are not level. Check your neck straightness first. And you can use a ruler to do that. You can use a ruler and put a piece of paper in below. If your ruler's rocking like that, it's too high. If you can get a piece of paper in below there, then it's got a little bit of an underbow, but it depends on how much the underbow has, and you can bring it up by the Allen key or down by the Allen key. So if your neck's straight for a start and it has some fret leveling issues, you get one of these things for about £6 and they got paper on them, and you just do what I did in circles or up and down, and then you just polish it with 1000 grit sandpaper. So altogether these tools, ignoring those, are about £15 worth of stuff. You can do your own. $17. If you're going to do any fret crowning, it's not a specialist trade either. You can do it yourself. If you couldn't do it yourself, why would they sell these tools online? That's a fairly expensive one called a Baroque, B-A-R-O-Q-U-E, Baroque file. Those are about 35 or 40 pounds. I like them because they're rounded edges. When you put them on the fret in the right size, nothing's touching the guitar except for the file and the fret. You can get other styles like that there, which are square, and you can do your frets with that. But I'm not that fussy on that because it's square edges. I prefer the round edges. But this works. But if you're using anything other than that, you need to tape off your guitar first, a little bit of tape, and do it. But altogether, you could do everything, and anybody could do what I do. Literally anybody could do what I do, with very inexpensively as well. I've just built up tools over time that I like, and I'm not going to go and buy something expensive because it looks fancy. I'll just use what I have. So do it. Get stuck in, do it. You can't destroy a guitar unless you're crazy and you take a hammer to it. So have a bash at your own and see what you can do. Right, I'm going to clean up the head and clean up the guitar. Next thing you'll see is the strings going on. All right, bye. I'm constantly thinking about ways to demo a guitar at the end so people can hear it properly. One of the YouTube people puts a lot of fuzz on and does the same chord every time, but that doesn't seem to show the guitar to me. So what I do, generally speaking, my guitar is completely flat, level, everything's set to normal, but I can't think of things to play because I'm not a great player. So I thought I'll try this. I'll just play some nice melodic chords and let you hear the guitar. That might be the right way to do it. Anyway, this is the Fender Squier. And I think I've said this before, but it's a very underrated guitar. It's a lovely guitar to hold. It's just the right size. And this one here really is a lovely little guitar. You'll hear it yourself. But I just love it. You know, it's helps if you don't throw the pick away. But you can tell that's just mid guitar tone. Everything just set to full. And I'll just play the chord, let you hear the A. That's on middle. This is in the upper. Can you see that? Let me move that down a bit. This is not about me, it's about the guitar. And if I put that down there, you get a more rock and rolly sound. Very underrated. I would say this is probably the most popular of all the Fenders, probably in sales category wise. But really, it's a lovely guitar, great action, lovely neck, everything set up. It wasn't so nice whenever I first got it because it was set up all badly, but this is set up lovely. I'm just going to raise that a little bit. They were locked. They hadn't been adjusted in decades, I think, and I had to force them open with a pair of pliers, the intonators. So I think I'll just lift up the middle section again, and just the neck's rounded, so the strings need to be following the shape of the neck. So let me just hear my favorite chord. Okay, it's going home. Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye.